Hello and welcome to FlutterFlow. In this video, I'm going to show you how to call an API and display the data in your UI. We'll also cover handling of list, showing loading and error states, and passing parameters step by step. So let's get started. So first of all, for API integration, you must have a Swagger Postman collection, or you can simply create a new API here too. I have already imported a Swagger Postman collection for a pet store. This is freely available on internet. There are various get, post, put, and delete APIs here. For the sake of this video, we are going to use this find pets by status and get pet by ID. I'm going to use these two APIs as an example. So in this API find pets by status, we need to pass a status, and based on that status it will give a response. For example, let me pass available status, so it has given a response. It is a long list of items, and I can see that there is an ID, category, the name, the photo URLs, and tags. So now for showing this response into my UI, I have two options here. I can either pass them as a data type, or I can simply select the JSON path. So selecting JSON path is quite easy and fast. You just need to add a JSON path. You need to give this variable name, for example, categories, and it will be available when you in your UI. We will use pass as a data type in this method because passing as a data type is more scalable than just JSON path. So for creating a data type, I will first need to copy this response. Let me just copy few of the items. I'll move on to creating a data type. I'll simply paste this JSON, and so let's call it a fetch data and simply create it. Yeah. So as you can see, the data type has been created. Even categories and tags, sub-data types, schemas have also been created. So moving on to our UI now. I have already created a sample UI, a pet homepage, where there is a status filter, a fetch pets button. Inside a status filter, there are various status like available, pending, sold, or returned. And there is a fetch pet button. So based on the status, we'll be able to fetch the listings. So before calling an API, let's create a component state of the data type we just created. So here we can select the data type, and let's say fetch data. Okay, so data type will be of fetch data, and let me confirm this. So as you can see, the data type has been created, and what we'll do next is call an API. So as soon as this component loads, I want to call an API using the status. By default, status here is available. So we'll call the API with this status. So let's add an action on initialization of this component. We'll make a backend call. Let's select our group from here. Then we'll select our API, that is find pets by status. It accepts an argument of status, so we'll pass it. So when we first trigger this, we know that the status is available, right? So we can simply pass the text here saying available. The response we will be stored in this variable. Let's say fetch status response, initial response. So now we'll update our component state and store this result into the data type which we have created, say fetch data. We'll set the value. We'll take it from action outputs because this variable is stored in action output. So we'll say that as a convert it as a data type and store it. Okay. So we forgot to mention that we also need to select the data type here, the one which we created. Select it as here, save it. Now we will able to successfully store it into our data type. Outputs. Now we know that the response was in a list, so I should have selected the list instead. Is list because patch data won't be a single data, it will be the list of data. So I need to make a change in my API call also. Here, I need to select this list. Why am I selecting this list is because I am receiving a list of patch store data, and this is just one data type. So I'll click on save. Now it is accepting a list of patch data, and also I am getting the same from the response. Now we can convert this column into the list view, and we can generate its children dynamically. So let me do that. We'll generate its children dynamically by using the variable in our component state, which is a list of pet data, fetch data items. It says the list will generate its children dynamically. Okay, so let's give some space between each items, some space above also. Okay, now I have already created a pets item component which will accept a title, status, pet name, and pet image. Pet image for now I have used static images which I have mentioned here. All these are the static images. As from API, the images which are coming are not proper. So, okay, so this component requires a pet ID. So let's get it from here. So as you can see, there is a pets data items item. It says that it is an individual item from the list view. We can select its index, or when we click on it, we can select the item at particular index. So when we do like this, so inside the list view, there can be a number of items, and when we click on each item, we can select that item from this. We need to pass ID, so we'll pass an ID. We can select this, and we can send the pet name. We can send the pet status. Yeah. So we have sent all the things which is required for this component. So I don't want to, show every items in this list. So I can say let's show maximum of 10 items only. Here I'll update this count. The count can be like this, combined text. List number of items inside this list. Let's add some space. Yeah. Now, whenever the user selects a different option from this drop down and clicks on this fetch pet button, I need to call this API again and filter this list which we have created. So how we are going to do that? Let's see. We are going to put an action on this button, an on tap action. I'm just going to copy the API tree again because I don't need to create from scratch. I can simply paste this API tree. I can change the response name because it's it will give an error that both action output cannot be of the single name. So let's get fetch status search to response. Here you need to select the search response. I'll filter this list, set values from action output. Now, first we pass this as available as a static value because it was calling on init. But now we are going to take this from the drop down. So inside the widget state, you will find a drop down. So this will be the value which is actually selected by the user during his interaction with this drop down. So here you need to pass select. That's why you need to select here as a widget of drop down. Now moving on to the next page. This is a pet details page. I will reach here by clicking on a particular pet item and it will give me the detail of that pet. So for me to move from one page to another, I will need an action. So an action should be available on my home page. Currently there is no action here. So what I'll do is I'll pass a callback from this component into the page. So I'll create a component parameter. Let's say uh, pet item clicked. It will be of type action. I'll bind this pet items on top of the pet items. It will execute the callback which we created. Pet items clicked. And also it will pass the ID because we require the ID of this pet. So let me add an component parameter. So whenever you click on this item, it will execute the callback and it will take the ID along with it, which will reach to this page. Now, what I need to do is I need to navigate to patch detail page here. So on this page, I'll perform a navigation. We can select navigate to patch detail page. Now, patch detail page must accept the ID which I am bringing. So let's say pet ID. It is a required parameter. It says I require the pet ID. I'll pass it from my callback. So let's give this response a name. Get pet by ID response. So what will happen? We will need to create a component state for storing this response also. But now we are not going to, use the data type. We'll simply use the JSON path. So for that, if suppose I pass an ID, let me see. Okay, it is giving me a response. So now I need the tags. So I'll say the tags. I'll save the tags name, all these three details. Fetch tag, fetch tag ID, fetch tag name. I also need this status. Sharing pet status. Let me save it again. Now, so this text we need to get dynamically from API response. So what we are going to do is get it from the response. Now don't have any data type, so we cannot do this. So here we must select JSON body. We can select JSON path or predefined path. Let's say like predefined path and patch tag name, which require a default value in case the value. Okay, the status. In the same way, we can simply copy this. In case the status is empty, it will show is available. So this is the way in which we do not need to create a data type. We do not need to create a component state. We can directly use the API response as a predefined part. This is a faster way, but as I said earlier, it is not so much scalable. We can select ID also. Let's check ID. Now we also want that the tags of this pet must be generated dynamically. So I can do like this. JSON body from predefined path. So if it is a list, then it will work here also. You do not need to create the component state again. Tags list, you can say. Yeah, so you can see the list has been created. Now, for the loading and error handling states, I have created a conditional builder here in which if there is a loading, it will show a loader like this. And after it is successful, after we receive the data, we'll show the data here. So I have binded it to a component state called isLoading, which I need to first make it as true. So I'll update the component state and first I'll say that show loading, and after the API response has been successful and I have stored the data, I will turn the loading off. So I'll set it to false. Now here I also need to show an error state. So if the API response fails, I can here add a snack bar right here. But since this is a sample API, the response never fails. It's just that the data comes empty. So I can add a condition here that if the data is empty, so something like this, you can simply check if after the API call if this list is set and not empty. If it is, we don't need to do anything. We'll simply terminate our action here. And but if it is not, we can give a snack bar. See error calling API and we'll terminate here. Nothing will happen on this actions. That's it. So let's run our app and check. I'll take this pull. So after you run the application, you can see that our data is being displayed properly. There are total 640 items, but we are only displaying the 10 that is working. You can change the drop down from pending, and yes, you can see the pending list. You can also see the sold list. And for our error handling scenario, if there is no data, and it will show the error calling API. Snack bar will be shown up. And for the loading scenario, there is a loading indicator which you can see for a split second. You can also check the details of any pet when you, for example, click on this. A detail page will be open up, and as you can see in the URL, we are passing the ID. ID is being passed correctly. So all the details of that pet will be displayed here. So that's it. Follow and like for more.